The Dershow.
The United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia ruled unanimously, as we all knew they would, that President Trump has no immunity for actions he took while president that were not directly within his discretionary authority. And the court said some foolish things in the decision. It said that the president has no role to play in the counting of votes, the counting of electors. That is such an incredibly narrow view. First of all, the president has a role to play every time there's an issue of whether the law should be enforced. It is the job of the president to take care that the laws be faithfully applied. And so any president who sees the law being unfaithfully applied can take some action to make sure that it is faithfully applied. Now, I don't agree with what President Trump did or how he saw the law, or whether he was actually defeated, which I think he was. But that's not the issue. The issue is what did he think? And the other issue, which the court just got completely wrong, is that before we get to that, there's another thing a president could do. Look, I was involved in the case of Bush versus Gore. A president can do what Gore did. He can concede. And if he concedes, that has a big impact on the case. Or to be more technical, if he chooses to, a president or a presidential candidate who is the president at the same time can free his electors, can say, no, electors, vote for whoever you want to vote. That, of course, happened when Jefferson and Burr were tied. And eventually some electors were freed, and we've had that before in some presidential cases. So the court was just wrong legally and factually about the role of a president. A president does have some role to play. The court was also wrong when it implied, it didn't quite say this, but it implied that the president is the only person who claims to have immunity from law. No. Senators and members of Congress are immunized. They have immunity. They can't be prosecuted for things they didn't said on the floor of the Senate, with exceptions. I mean, obviously, but in general, they have immunity. And this is the biggest surprise that the court didn't really go into. So do judges. Judges are immune. There's an infamous case some years ago where a judge somewhere in the Deep South during the segregation period, a father of a friend of his was a father of a young girl who was having sex with a young boy. And the father was afraid she'd get pregnant and didn't like the boy. I don't remember whether it was a racial issue or just a personal issue, but the father didn't like the boy. And in order to prevent the girl from getting pregnant, he wanted to arrange for her to have her tubes tied to prevent her from being pregnant, a surgical procedure. So he persuaded this judge, who was his friend, to order the girl to have an appendectomy. The father lied to the daughter. The judge lied to the daughter and said, you're going in for an appendectomy. And she went in for what she thought was an appendectomy, and she had her tubes tied. And years later, she got married to somebody who the father approved of, but he never told her this. And she tried to get pregnant, and she couldn't. She went to the doctor. The doctor said, of course you can't get pregnant. Your tubes have been tied. And she went back and checked it out and tried to sue the judge for doing what was clearly not only a tort, but a crime, a horrible, horrible crime, assault, horrible. And the court, the Supreme Court of the United States, said there was immunity. So we do have immunity. We have immunity for two branches of the government, the judicial branch and the legislative branch. So it shouldn't be surprising that we might have immunity as well for the executive branch.